Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your hosts, Mike
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic.
So Yogi over here has been in kind of a grumpy mood today. And
towards you.
Partially yesterday as well, but he's just been kind of grumpy in general. He hasn't gotten sharky. He hasn't done any of his normal behaviors that he does as the yacht dog.
Well, until about 10 minutes ago, when he decided he was going to leap up on my legs and chew his rhinoceros at me.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what happened to. Did he give up? He gave up.
He's been kind of grumpy, but it's also been rainy. I wonder if the weather is affecting him that way.
Well, you know, he hates the rain, so it's possible.
Yeah.
And we've been really busy and not giving him a lot of attention, so...
Yeah, we had a busy weekend. So, you know how we talked about Canada has legalized marijuana countrywide?
Yes. All the marijuana.
I guess they're concerned about marijuana impaired drivers.
I'm sure it's marijuana and regularly impaired drivers.
But they're concerned about an addition to the marijuana impaired drivers. And so there's this commentary, which I assume is like an op-ed piece from the Global News in Canada, and it says commentary: Canada's new impaired driving law goes way too far. Now, you send this to me, I see this headline, and I'm like, well, that's juicy. I need to dig into this a little deeper. It's like, wow, they're thinking something went too far. And then it says, there is growing concern about sweeping new police powers when it comes to impaired driving and where breath tests can be conducted. So they tell you, this is the crazy part. And I'm reading this to you because I don't think describing what I understand it to be does it any justice. It's kind of
unbelievable.
This was well written, and by well written, I mean it kind of kept the emotion out of it. I wouldn't be able to do that. So,
well, he's just like these facts right here are shit.
I'm just going to read this to you. Imagine the scenario. You've come home after a long, stressful day and head straight for your refrigerator or liquor cabinet and knock back a few beers or whiskeys over the next hour or two to calm your nerves. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. It's the police, saying they'd received a complaint about an erratic driver and they wanted you to blow into a breathalyzer. What would your reaction be? Outrage? Bewilderment? Combination of the two? Well, all of that may quickly evolve into dread once you realize that a positive reading on the breathalyzer could mean arrest and a charge of impaired driving laid, even though your impairment came after your driving and not the other way around. Did you hear what I just read you?
I've never sent you something more offensive, I think.
You're right. And you've sent me some offensive things.
I know. I'm the master of finding the most offensive pieces of news.
And it says, does all of this sound far-fetched? Sadly, it's not. In fact, it's the new legal reality in Canada.
Is it in all of Canada?
Yeah.
So it's an RCMP enforceable.
Yeah. And it says right here, this is all a part of the overhaul of Canada's impaired driving laws that federal government ushered in alongside the legalization of cannabis. Changes took effect last month. Now police can compel a motorist to blow into a breathalyzer at any time. So do you still like the DUI checkpoints?
Well, if you're actively driving, then they should be able to fuck you up. And you're drunk.
Maybe they come after you after the fact because you match the description of somebody and they come to your house and they make you blow into a breathalyzer and you've had 2 beers since you got home.
I think if you're not driving, that them being able to give you a breathalyzer is just fucking bullshit. Especially if you're in your house.
And that's exactly what
I
this
know.
is saying.
But I don't think DUI checkpoints are bullshit. We've talked about this before.
But it comes down to, if you didn't have the checkpoint, they wouldn't see the person, and they wouldn't have come and harassed them at their home.
But they're going to stop you in the checkpoint, dingus, so they'll catch you right then if you've been drinking.
You didn't catch anything I said to you. You come home. You didn't drink. After they see you, you come home. Later, they get a complaint about something, and they go, oh my God, that was that person that drove that car. What was that license number again? And then they look back in their computer history, and they're like, that was the one right there. That's the one. And they click on it, and they find your name, and they come to the house, and they're like, and you've had 2 beers now. You've been home for an hour. You've had 2 beers.
I feel like your story is really far.
Got to blow in here. Well, it's the same story as this.
No, it's not. You're saying they're profiling somebody from a checkpoint. That's the part I think is far-fetched.
Okay. I see it all the time. I know who that guy is.
Don't live in Canada.
So?
I don't think their police are like the police here. Neither do you.
Guess what? We're going to say they are.
Feels kind of fascisty right now.
Yeah, it's kind of... I don't know how... I do know how I would react to this. I mean, it's so simple to me. When your rights are being infringed upon, it's really simple for me. When your rights are being infringed upon, especially by the government, whose sole role is to be the arbiter between your rights and mine, and they obviously can't be the arbiter of their rights to mine, so the government doesn't have rights when it comes to me.
Uh-huh.
So, why are they allowed to step all over your rights like that?
They shouldn't be.
How does stuff like that get through?
Like hustle,
like stuff like that.
Of marijuana.
We're really lucky that stuff like that doesn't happen in this country most of the time. Like
somebody licked somebody else's butthole to get something passed quietly because they wanted their vote on legalization of marijuana.
And so their vote was give the police so much power and authority that if you smoke, you better damn well stay home because if you get caught, you're busted.
Here's what will happen. The Liberals are not going to win a majority again in the election this year.
Okay.
The Conservatives are going to take that law.
How do you know that they're going to win, though?
I said they're not going to win.
You said the Conservatives will win.
Yes, because it does the exact same thing as here. It flip-flops. 90% of the time, it will flip. Especially if the Prime Minister has been, bashed quite as much as Trudeau has. There are people driving across Canada to protest at the Parliament.
Really?
That's how mad Canadians are.
Really?
At Justin Trudeau. Yes.
Over just issues in general or something specific?
They feel like he's completely neglected Western Canada the entire time he's been Prime Minister. And that's not surprising. That's what happens when Liberals get elected in Canada. They completely neglect the rednecks. Poor rednecks.
Well, in reality, that's kind of what happens here when Liberals are in charge.
Right. California and New York get all the attention and everybody else gets shit on. And the opposite happens when the opposite party's in power. And it's less bad when the Conservatives are in power. Pretty much only Ontario gets dumped on. Quebec always gets dumped on because they hate everybody and they treat everybody like garbage.
I was just sitting here thinking that, from that perspective, the political world there and the political world here are very, very similar.
Yeah.
But the leaders are very much, their power is very much tied to the power of whatever party they belong to.
The leaders in Canada have exponentially less power than the leader here. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
How do you figure?
They can't, I don't know, what's it called? They can't make executive orders. Their party can overthrow them.
That's what I just said. Their power is strictly related to their party, meaning their party can give them as much power as they want or take it away when they want, but they're tied to that party.
They, specifically, have exponentially less power.
Because the party can just decide, you know what, you're not the dude for the job. we don't like what you're doing. You're out of here.
Yeah.
Which means, really, the party is what rules, not the person. Because if that wasn't the case, it would be more like here, where just because the party doesn't like you doesn't mean that, like, every Republican could get together and be like, I don't like Donald Trump.
Right.
But that doesn't mean he's definitely going to get removed.
Right.
And that's different there.
Exactly. It's a little bit more effective. So if Justin Trudeau had been a complete fucking knob from the day he got into work, Prime Minister's office, the Liberal Party could have been like, nope, we're all voting, you die now. Just kidding. They don't actually kill them. They just...
Then how do they pick his successor?
They vote. Do you remember when Kevin OLeary was running for the leader of the Conservative Party?
People?
No.
Parliament?
The members of the Conservative Party are members of the Liberal Party.
That's kind of fucked up. Because
I have no idea what it takes to become one of those people.
They should be letting everybody vote if they're going to vote.
No, that would make it like here.
Well, that's why I think it's right.
Well,
why should a certain group of people be removed from the decision-making process about the leader of their country just because the leader of their country is a certain party and they're not?
You let the Boynton Park City Council pick the mayor for you from their people.
But the mayor's just a figurehead.
So is the Prime Minister.
Then why is everything about how Prime Minister Trudeau has to negotiate with the Orange Wonder?
He doesn't do diddly squat. He is a figurehead. He is I travel here to shake hands on behalf of Canada.
Can we stick with what we've learned about like answering questions? That wasn't an answer to my question. I understand you say he's a figurehead, but my question in response to you originally saying, because now you've said it twice that he's a figurehead, was why do you say that he's just a figurehead when they talk about how he has to come negotiate with the orange guy? And you know what? That means that two leaders of a country are negotiating, not the whole parliament against one leader. Explain that.
He comes to shake hands and take pictures and gather notes that he takes back to his party so they can make decisions. It's like
interesting.
The chairman of a board of directors.
So that means that the media puts out a fake story about that.
Not really.
Sure they do. They say he makes the decision.
He doesn't make any decisions.
That he is the Canadian equivalent of the president. And if that's the case, that he doesn't make the decisions, he's not the Canadian equivalent of the president.
Okay, then. We'll go with that.
That's crazy. But what I also notice is you haven't really convinced me. I'm kind of still middle of the road on this idea that you're talking about.
What idea that I was talking about?
This Canadian system being better than the American system. I'm kind of still middle of the road on that because you haven't convinced me, first of all, that it's even a good system. Because I know ours sucks. But you haven't even convinced me that it's a good system.
Uh-huh.
And number two, you haven't convinced me that the other one can't be fixed with a slight tweak. So I'm kind of stuck in the middle. Like, okay, your way seems viable, but then I can see ways to make our way viable too. So what makes your way better? Well, then you tell me, oh, well, your prime minister is just a figurehead and he doesn't really get to do squat. Well, the media goes around and says, oh, well, he's the leader. He's
because
exactly
he's
like
the
president. But that's not really what... If they said he's the figurehead, you know what a different opinion people would have? You just changed my opinion of him completely.
Now you know how he gets away with being a bumbling idiot?
But that's why I wonder why you would think that was better. That's a whole group of old men control who the figurehead old man's going to be.
One, because they're not old men in Canada. That is part of what I think is better. They are very age and racially diverse.
But okay, all countries have a minimum age. What's the minimum age for running for office? For that kind of office?
I have no idea.
For that kind of office, I would imagine What do you call it? Do you call it federal office?
Hold on, I'm looking.
No, but I'm asking you what it's called. Is it called federal office? Because then there's like provincial as well, which would be each province. Okay, I'm just trying to remember the words. That's all. Sorry to annoy you, but it's interesting for the listeners to hear what your
You asked me to look something up, so hold on a second.
crazy stuff is called. Well, yeah, but I can't just sit here with dead air while you do that.
Well, you can sit here and not ask me fucking questions.
I'm going to talk. I'm not asking you questions. I'm recapping what was said.
Guess.
I have no idea. Well,
you could have kept talking.
Searching. I was talking, and then you kept bitching at me for what I was talking about.
You were asking me fucking questions.
No, I wasn't. I was talking and thinking out loud. Jiminy crickets. You know I do that all the time.
Okay, next time I'll just not answer.
My worst enemy knows that I do it all the time, so I would hope that my wife knows that I do it all the time. Come on.
Really emanating it, I know. I don't listen.
Doesn't make you an idiot. I don't know why you say that stuff. I don't agree with you that you're an idiot. I think that we're going to pause here for a moment.
Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.